Hey guys, it's Stefania from merch.com with a guide on how to merchant the level 90 weapons. Guides for other popular items can be found in the video description. Now first off, some general information about these. The level 90 weapons are price checked in the 90weaps PC friends chat. Now if you plan to flip the items, then you should make sure you're in there to stay up to date with the latest prices. The chat uses the SNB system, and if you don't already know how this works, then please pause the video and read about it here. Now keep in mind that like most other price checking friend chats, 90weaps PC tolerates no off-topic talking and absolutely no talking about price trends. If you give false prices, you will almost always be conflicted and kicked. Breaking the rules is just not worth doing. It's best to be honorable. If you really need to give false prices to be able to merchant, you're doing something very wrong. Now, all level 90 weapons can make great update investments, but I can't really give any specific strategies for them. All I can say is that you should keep an eye out on the new updates and general RuneScape news anywhere you can find it. Each situation is different from the other, so there really aren't any general rules I can give you here. Typical things to look out for potential update investments are of course new bosses, new monsters in general, or any changes to anything combat related. Now on the other hand, you should also keep an eye out for any non-combat related updates, more specifically ones that are very popular like the divination skill. These will often cause weapons to drop in price because there is less demand for them at that moment, and this will be followed by the inevitable rebound where plenty of profit can be made. Now another important thing to keep in mind for these weapons, and basically all items in general, is the time of the day. You can learn more about this in the video link in the description to a merchanting class I made a while ago. If you want to get more advanced with your merchanting, this is definitely something to look into because it plays a huge role. Now when it comes to merch, we provide live graphs on all of the level 90 weapons as they are some of the most popular items in game for all types of merchanting, which is also why they're on top of the page. Now our live graph should be used for short and long-term investing. For flipping, it is really always the best to be in the chat itself, like I mentioned before. The items in the chat are reported in the same order as we have them here on merch, so rapier, longsword, mace, crossbow, wand, and then the offense in the same order with the singularity instead of the wand. Now I'll be explaining about the different groups, starting off with Drygors. Drygors are mostly tied in price, so if one of them rises, the others rise at a similar rate percentage-wise most of the time. They have a limit of 1 per 4 hours on each of them, which makes them exceptionally popular for flipping. People tend to flip these multiple times per day for margins anywhere between 500k and 3 mil. So per 4 hours you can easily make 6 mil here as long as you respect the margins. It is really important to try to maintain them. You can under or overcut everyone, but eventually your offers almost always fail, so you're only throwing away potential profit and ruining the market. They are great items to make money on as long as the margins are respected, which will prolong their lifespan. Now, when the market is volatile, these can be very good for inactive flips or even short-term investments, despite their low limit. Now, like I explained, they often move the same amount, which sort of boosts their limit to 6 for 4 hours. And this is where our live graphs come into play. Their purpose is to aid you in short and long-term investing through the historical data, and you will see that they have set 1 mil margins on merch, which are to be used as guidelines only. It really doesn't mean that at this very instant you can buy them for the low price and quickly sell them for 1 mil higher. Prices fluctuate, of course, you have to keep that in mind. So like I said before, for actual flipping, go to the friends chat 90weaps PC. Now as you can see on the graph here, Drygors are quite stable in general, but from time to time they can rise or crash anywhere between 3 and 10 mil pretty quickly. Like I demonstrated here, you may be thinking I'm investing with a lot of money and it is not for you, but I'm making 5 mil per offhand mace here a day after they stop buying. I mean 95 mil per account here in 5 days total, and if I had to do that through flipping them for 1 mil each 3 times per day, it would have taken me a month. To be fair, I'm using more money here, so let's say I would use the same amount of money to flip all 6 Drygors for 1 mil each 3 times per day. It would have cost me the same 5 days for the same profit, but with a lot more effort. Short-term investing is not always necessarily more profit, but it is less work and more advanced merchanting. You can stick with flipping Drygors forever, but sometimes keeping an eye out for a short-term investment can be a really good idea. When you flip a Drygor for 1 mil and they rise like 3 mil more afterwards, for example, you'll start thinking about this. Now next up are the Ascension crossbows. And these are alright for both active and inactive flipping, but usually a bit slower than Drygors. Personally, I find these excellent for short-term investments as they have decent fluctuation throughout the day and a combined limit of 4 per 4 hours, 2 main hands and 2 off hands. Now you would think that because they are interchangeable, the two bows, they would be the same price, and they usually are, but definitely not always. Sometimes either of the two can be more expensive or more in demand than the other. And at a time like this, you can always quickly buy the cheaper version, convert it at Ocellus with 100 Ascension shards, and then sell it. I've had occasions where my offhand crossbows were also selling much faster than my main hands, so I simply converted the main hands to offhands to finish selling at the exact same price sooner. Now, to prove to you all that they vary in price a lot, I've put this video together where I perfectly overlay the graphs of both of the bows in the same 1 month time period. Now, if you take a close look, you will notice all the subtle differences in the timing of the peaks and also their height, the height of the peaks and the crashes. And it's not even just that, it's also the fact that if you look at all the fluctuation throughout the days here in this 1 month time period only, it just really proves how great these are for short-term investments and how much money can be made by actively doing this. Now, if you're really interested in watching our fluctuations and trends for these short and long-term investments, then the live graphs can be of great help for you here. They have set 5 mil margins as guidelines again, like the Drygors do. And these margins may of course change in the future depending on how much the item is worth at the moment. I really suggest you to look into these if you have the wealth for it, because it can be a great additional profit every day. And last but not least, the seismics. At the time of making this guide, they are still relatively low in stock, as they have been in the game for about 5 months, I believe, while being the hardest to obtain out of any boss drop. So keep in mind that if you watch this guide in the distant future, things may not be entirely the same anymore. Now, the seismics are the wand and the singularity, which are considered the best weapons in game at this time, because magic is generally more powerful and more popular than melee and ranged, and it is also the best method to kill Virago. Now again, this may change in the future, but this combined with their rarity is the reason for their very high prices compared to Drygors and Ascensions. Now, their low volume makes them both very risky and very profitable for flipping. Mainly inactive flipping is preferred for these, as ones can often change up to 50 mil in a single price check, and singularities, well, I've seen those do the same, but they generally change up to like 20 mil. Now, if you have the wealth for it, then short-term investing while keeping an eye on Virago and everything that revolves around him can be extremely profitable. Their risk factor is very large due to their high prices, and there are of course a lot more false prices being given on them because people are really scared to be stuck with them at the current prices, even though they have been at high prices for months now. Sadly, their limit is low at only 1 per 4 hours for each of them, and I highly suggest you not to get involved with seismics unless your bank is at least twice the size of their street price. Because they are at such high prices, the risks of a massive crash remain, and you don't want all your money to be tied up in them when this happens. The live graphs can help you a lot with flipping and the trends for short-term investing, but one of the key factors simply remains the situation with Virago. Even at the prices the seismics are at right now, the amount of time, money and effort put in to get them is really not worth it, which is what keeps the price high for now and will make it difficult for them to crash to prices similar to Drygors and Ascensions, unless of course Virago becomes easier to kill. Now, if you plan to flip or invest in seismic weapons, it is essential to keep a close eye on everything that revolves around Virago, like his weekly cycles, the popularity of killing the boss, if anything was changed about the boss or the items used to kill him, and just how easy it is for people to kill at this moment, and there are of course many more factors. Now that pretty much sums up the guide for merchanting the level 90 weapons. Jagex confirmed that there will be more level 90 weapons in the future, such as the two-handed ones through the inventor skill. Now if these turn out to be tradable, I can make a separate guide for them, and you'll have to keep a very close eye on them when you plan to merchant any of the level 90 weapons that currently exist in this video. Feel free to make your own merchanting log on merch.com to show us your progress and skill with merchanting level 90 weapons, and of course any other items. If you have any questions, please ask them below in the comments and I will respond to you as soon as possible. Alternatively, you can always come in on our IRC channel and I can answer any of your questions there, or Snow can. I hope you enjoyed the guide and that you perhaps learned something new out of it, and I wish you all of the best with your merchanting. Good luck, guys!